Now that French troops have been driven out of Burkina Faso, what are Captain Ibrahim Traoré's plans to combat terrorism there? Captain Ibrahim Traoré had to address the issue prior to the intensification of terrorist assaults. But because of the West's animosity, he was unable to obtain world-class weapons, drones and other military hardware from the West. At that point, he made an unexpected choice. He promised to forge new alliances and even purloin certain Western allies, such as Turkey. In order to combat terrorism, Burkina Faso's military has recently purchased the most advanced and world-class weaponry. This indicates that the West's attempts to impede Burkina Faso's access to weaponry have been unsuccessful. The army of Burkina Faso will now manage the security situation on its own. Nevertheless, what cutting-edge weaponry and world-class drones has Burkina Faso lately acquired? And how does Captain Ibrahim Traoré intend to employ them to frighten the West unimaginably? In this video, let's find out. What kind of weaponry has Burkina Faso obtained? Lately, a new cargo of combat drones from Turkey was sent to Burkina Faso's junta with the intention of supporting the country's counter-terrorism initiatives. The declaration was made by the Ouagadougou presidency, and according to local media, the Burkina Faso military has taken possession of 3 TB2 model drones and at least 2 Akanji drones. According to additional sources, some 12 combat drones of the TB2 and Akanji models are included in the shipment. Was manufactured by Turkish business Baykar Technologies, which is renowned for its prowess in defense and aerospace technologies. Captain Ibrahim Traoré was proud to confirm that these drones had been included into the military fleet of Burkina Faso. He complimented the Akanji model for exceeding technical expectations and the TB2 model for its performance in combat operations. Traoré highlighted that increasing the number of drones in the fleet improves the country's security posture by enabling quick response and ongoing monitoring. The expansion of Burkina Faso's drone inventory was reiterated by Defense Minister Kassim Koulibaly, who emphasized the vital role that drones play in surveillance and combat operations against adversaries. He sent his appreciation to Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan for the successful collaboration, characterizing it as genuine and advantageous. In Burkina Faso, the war against terrorist groups is still going strong as extremists keep attacking both military installations and quiet communities. Many residents have been forced to flee to safer regions of the nation as a result of these ongoing attacks. Thus, to strengthen the country's security apparatus, the armed forces of Burkina Faso have received a significant number of Turkish Bayraktar drones from its interim president, Ibrahim Traoré. Unmanned aerial vehicles have undergone extensive testing and have been shown to be operationally effective. As a result, they will be incorporated into the Burkina Faso army. The effective use of these drones in the battle against extremist groups represents a major breakthrough for the nation and gives military forces on the ground access to vital intelligence and surveillance capabilities. Additionally, it highlights Burkina Faso's leadership's unwavering dedication to using state-of-the-art technology to accomplish goals related to national security. The fact that the majority of media outlets fail to highlight is that the procurement of these drones was made possible by the kind donations made by citizens. This grassroots support demonstrates the Burkinabe people's resilience in the face of hardship and demonstrates their shared resolve to counter the threats posed by terrorism and protect the country's future. But owning a drone is not the end of it. The Burkinabe military needed armored vehicles to combat terrorists in areas that were clearly defined. Consequently, Norinco WMA-301 fire support vehicles with 105mm cannons and Norinco 81mm CSSN-1 self-propelled mortars were recently purchased by Burkina Faso from China. 6 WMA-301s and a WZ-551 command vehicle were observed by observers. along with 8 CSSM-1 mortars affixed on Dongfeng EQ 2050 light tactical vehicle chassis. Many nations, notably China, Senegal, Chad, Cameroon, and Djibouti, used the 105mm WMA-301. Remarkably, no other African country is known to be using the self-propelled mortars built at Dongfeng. According to Brigadier General Qassem Coulibaly, the Minister of Defense, this delivery is the first of 5 planned consignments under the Strategic Equipment Plan that Traoré announced on December 31, 2023. Additionally, at the beginning of March 2023, the government gave a local bank about 250 billion francs CFA, that is $400 million, to purchase military hardware for the fight against terrorists in response to the growing threat posed by terrorism. According to a database, Burkina Faso has been the recipient of military equipment from several nations, including transport planes, armed transports, helicopters, and armored personnel carriers. These purchases highlight the nation's continuous attempts to strengthen its military prowess in the face of escalating security threats. However, how has Burkina Faso been able to obtain weaponry from nations that the West opposes? Add your voice to the total liberation of Africa by leaving a comment in the comments section below. Do not forget to like and subscribe for more informative videos like this one. Let's proceed. Burkina Faso's foreign policy has been led by Ibrahim Traoré, and it is centered on working with any nation that may help Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso will cooperate with any country, friend or enemy of the West, as long as it provides the necessities of Burkina Faso. It won't give a damn if the West approves of it or not, since Burkina Faso is no longer a colony. Being an independent state, it has the authority to choose what is best for itself. Ibrahim Traoré, the president of transition in Burkina Faso, recently voiced his satisfaction with the progress made in military technical cooperation between Russia and his country. He emphasized Burkina Faso's newfound freedom in choosing its military alliances, while also pointing out the critical role that Russian weapons have played in strengthening the country's armed forces against terrorism. This is a change from the previous reliance on established allies who frequently placed restrictions on the acquisition of weapons. Burkinabe Defense Minister Qassem Coulibaly echoed Traoré's remarks by pointing out the country's growing independence in military decision-making. He emphasized Burkina Faso's commitment to providing its defense and security forces with efficient weapons at fair prices, while pointing out the difficulties faced in past agreements with previous partners. The importance of sovereign decision-making in the procurement process was emphasized by Coulibaly. With the ability to select its own partners, Coulibaly disclosed that Burkina Faso was receiving regular orders for military hardware from Russia, a sign of the country's strategic pivot toward reliable and affordable arms purchases. He declared Burkina Faso's right to negotiate with chosen partners and to obtain advantageous conditions for the purchase and upkeep of equipment, all while asserting the country's sovereignty. Coulibaly described how Russia and Burkina Faso's military collaboration has changed over time, voicing hope for future deeper and more open collaboration. He saw his trip to Moscow as a chance to fortify their relationship and look into opportunities for further collaboration, highlighting the two countries' developing openness and trust. He talked about Burkina Faso's historical reliance on Russian weaponry and emphasized how crucial it is to make sure that new equipment works well with the stockpile. He went into further detail about the difficulties frequently encountered while switching to different models and calibers. Burkina Faso is not actively pursuing cutting-edge military hardware in spite of these obstacles. Rather, the emphasis is on obtaining weapons that are efficient and have already been put through field testing. Burkina Faso demonstrated the cyclical nature of weapon development by noting that the cost of older gear usually drops as newer technology are developed. Although Russia may no longer be actively using some weapons, Burkina Faso still views them as viable possibilities because of their proven track record of performance and dependability. Particularly, Russian helicopters were praised for being robust and low maintenance, which made them appealing options for African countries looking to bolster their military prowess. The Russian Defense Ministry had arranged the Army 2023 Forum, which the Burkinabe Defense Minister attended earlier in Moscow. When Koulibaly looked back on his time there, he emphasized getting a close-up look at the newest Russian military hardware used in practical situations. His presence gave important insights into Russian military breakthroughs and their real-world applications in combat. A major change in Burkina Faso's national security strategy can be seen in Captain Ibrahim Traoré's attempts to obtain weapons from nations including China, Russia, Iran, Turkey, and South Korea. With the refusal of the United States, France, and their allies to deliver lethal weaponry, Traoré understands the vital significance of obtaining weapons from other partners. This rejection goes so far as to obstruct the delivery of weapons that have been bought elsewhere, putting Burkina Faso in jeopardy. Drawing on his background as a former UN peacekeeper in Mali, Captain Traoré emphasized Russia's readiness to arm Burkina Faso without placing any restrictions in an interview. Traoré made a comparison between this and other countries that have restrictions on the sale of weapons, such as China, Turkey, and South Korea. Traoré also underlined Iran's willingness to provide arms in accordance with Burkina Faso's unique needs and financial resources. Traoré's disclosure that Burkina Faso's military has borrowed weaponry from neighboring nations for specific operations emphasizes the force's fragile status even more. This dependence on outside sources for armaments highlights Burkina Faso's critical need for autonomy in defense concerns and the limits of its military power. Examples of how the Burkinabe army borrows weapons, uses them for operations, cleans them afterward, and then returns them show the difficulties they encounter in preserving national security. Traoré also highlights the significance of acting quickly in the event of an attack, using the intervention battalion's preparedness within the alliance of Sahel states as an example. Traoré's proactive response to regional security concerns is shown in the development of this alliance by Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger amid sanctions due to the coup and poor relations with neighboring nations. Traoré dismisses the East African Community, ECOWAS, as finished, notwithstanding recent declarations of their exit from it. This suggests a strategic shift in regional alliances and interests. What ambitions does Captain Ibrahim Traoré have then? That's when the West starts to get very tense. It even stopped the supply from its allies because it did not want Burkina Faso to obtain world-class weaponry. This was carried out in order to foil Captain Ibrahim Traoré's ambitious future ambitions. Ibrahim Traoré was to be kept busy by the West in order to deal with instability. For this reason, Burkina Faso witnessed an increase in security issues that jeopardized the country's stability and sovereignty. However, Captain Ibrahim Traoré pledged to provide the Burkina Faso army with cutting-edge weapons. His strategic vision seeks to create an autonomous military force that can combat security threats on its own, enabling Burkina Faso to have a safer and more affluent future. Strong dedication to national security and unwavering determination characterize Captain Ibrahim Traoré's leadership. Acknowledging the need for military modernization, Traoré has initiated an extensive program aimed at improving the Burkinabe army's capabilities. The purchase of state-of-the-art armaments that will improve the military's capacity to successfully address changing security threats is at the center of this endeavor. Through calculated expenditures on cutting-edge machinery and demanding training courses, Traoré wants to provide his soldiers with the knowledge and resources they need to protect Burkina Faso's sovereignty and people from outside threats. In order to achieve his lofty objectives, Captain Traoré has forged a strategic partnership with Russia, a world leader in military innovation and technology. Burkina Faso wants to improve its military capabilities by acquiring cutting-edge weapons and receiving specialized training. Capitalizing on Russia's experience in this area, This alliance represents a dramatic change in Burkina Faso's defense policy as the country works to become less reliant on foreign aid and to reclaim its national security sovereignty. The goal of Traoré's Alternative Partnership Program is to elevate Burkina Faso's international stature and fortify its capacity to face security threats with courage and resiliency. Captain Ibrahim Traoré remarked that just as Russia is like a family to Africa, Africans feel a familial connection with Russia. He noted that both share a common history, which strengthens this bond. He mentioned that during World War II, Russia made significant sacrifices to help free the world from Nazism, and that African grandfathers were forcibly taken to assist Europe in the same cause. Traoré emphasized that both Russia and Africa share the experience of being left out of history books, documentaries, and films, and urged that their roles in fighting Nazism should not be overlooked. Regarding Burkina Faso, Traoré explained that for over 8 years, they have been confronting the most brutal and destructive forms of imperialism and neocolonialism. He warned that slavery could still be imposed on them and highlighted the lesson learned from history. The slave who cannot organize his own revolt does not deserve freedom. He insisted that Burkina Faso does not ask others to take responsibility for their destiny, nor do they seek to influence others. Finally, he affirmed that the Burkinabe people have decided to fight back against terrorism in order to restart their growth. The establishment of an independent military force that can combat security challenges without the assistance of the West is at the core of Traoré's ambition. Burkina Faso aims to preserve its sovereignty and assert independence in matters of national security by reducing the number of French and Western soldiers inside its borders and strengthening its own defense capabilities. The goal of this strategic realignment is to prevent outside influences and pressures from interfering with Burkina Faso's ability to manage its military and security matters. Equipped with cutting-edge weaponry and extensive training, Burkina Faso is prepared to take on the threat of terrorism head-on. In the future, Burkina Faso will be free of terrorism and able to concentrate on its own growth and prosperity. According to Captain Ibrahim Traoré, he seeks to eradicate extremist forces and bring peace and security back to the region by taking immediate action and focusing counter-terrorism operations. This will create an atmosphere that is favorable to social and economic advancement. Ibrahim Traoré is unafraid to take on any obstacle in his pursuit of this objective, even those African leaders that serve as the puppets of the West. The heads of state from Africa who do not contribute anything to these warring people is the problem. So how will this be carried out? For Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has devised a creative plan, laying out a thorough plan to eradicate terrorist threats within the country with the ultimate goal of bringing about long-lasting peace and security for its people. The highly skilled training of the Burkinabe army and the procurement of a formidable armaments cache from non-traditional allies like China, Russia, Iran, Turkey, and South Korea are the cornerstones of Traoré's plan. With these vital resources in place, Traoré sees a methodical effort to eradicate terrorist groups from Burkina Faso, one operation at a time. The Burkinabe army's combat capabilities and efficacy in counter-terrorism operations would be improved by providing them with sophisticated training. According to Traoré's ambitious plan, which begins with this step, by means of demanding and all-encompassing training regimens, Traoré hopes to provide his soldiers the abilities, approaches, and plans required to meet and overcome terrorist threats inside Burkina Faso's boundaries. The Burkinabe army will be able to function with accuracy, efficiency, and synchronization thanks to this training, guaranteeing the accomplishment of every assigned task. Through the African Corps, more than 100 Russian military officers have already arrived in Burkina Faso to train the Burkinabe army. Concurrently with the army's training, Traoré focuses his efforts on obtaining cutting-edge weapons from other sources. Realizing that the West places restrictions on arms sales, Traoré looks to Russia, Iran, Turkey, South Korea, and China to get the weaponry required to effectively fight terrorism. With a strong arsenal at its disposal, the Burkinabe army will have the tools and resources needed to accurately and confidently take on and eliminate terrorist threats. When training and equipment are finished, Traoré will launch a carefully thought-out sequence of operations to gradually remove terrorist elements from Burkina Faso. Every operation will be meticulously planned and carried out, focusing on particular terrorist organizations or locations around the country. The Burkinabe army will launch precision strikes to disrupt and dismantle terrorist networks, gradually conquering regions and reducing their hold by employing intelligence-driven tactics and strategic coordination. Traoré's counterterrorism approach places a high value on efficiency and precision in order to minimize losses among civilians and maximize the impact on terrorist groups. Traoré intends to gradually weaken terrorist organizations' capabilities and reduce their influence and authority over Burkina Faso's territory by concentrating on specific activities. However, how were the Burkinabe arsenal and army previously? French strategic interests in Burkina Faso have been centered on making sure the Burkinabe army is vulnerable for many years. This tactic, which focused on successfully managing contemporary weapons, prevented the Burkinabe army from expanding and instead made it dependent and undeveloped. French troops impeded the training and growth of the Burkinabe army by operating independently and withholding sophisticated weapons, leaving the army ill-prepared to manage security issues on its own. In this way, France achieved two goals with its strategic strategy. It guaranteed the French military's indispensable presence in Burkina Faso. French soldiers established themselves as the main security force in the area by controlling the majority of contemporary weaponry and acting autonomously. The Burkinabe government was compelled to rely on French help to meet its defense and security demands as a result of this dependence. The second goal of the French policy was to stop the Burkinabe army from becoming independent and strong enough to oppose French dominance. France continued to exert influence over Burkina Faso's security forces by restricting access to contemporary weapons and impeding army preparation. This calculated move guaranteed that the Burkinabe army would always be insufficient and incapable of claiming independence without French support. But Captain Ibrahim Traoré's appearance signaled a crucial turning point. In an effort to subvert French authority and fortify the Burkinabe army, Traoré turned to other allies, most notably Russia, for military support. Traoré sought to break free from reliance and assert Burkina Faso's autonomy in terms of defense and security by invading Russia in order to train the Burkinabe army. This was not only a tactical move, it was a statement of Burkina Faso's will to pave its own course. Burkina Faso demonstrated its willingness to take charge of its security matters by broadening its military alliances and enlisting the support of new friends. The mastermind behind all of this, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, has unnerved the West. What do you think about this move by Captain Ibrahim Traoré? Can Captain Ibrahim Traoré equip his troops with cutting-edge weapons and train them under Russian military experts to combat terrorism in his nation? Do you think the Burkinabe army has the potential to be the first in Africa to conduct highly coordinated and sophisticated operations against terrorists in order to reclaim territory? Tell us what you think in the comments section below. We explore the rich history, culture, and the ongoing struggle for sovereignty in Africa. Join us in this important conversation by subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you're not just staying informed, you're becoming part of a movement dedicated to reclaiming Africa's rightful place on the global stage. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Let's work together to spread knowledge and inspire change. Thanks for watching.